Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Woodcarver live show. My name is Laney Shaughnessy, and co-hosting with me tonight is Burl Tishner, owner of Digital Woodcarver. How you doing this evening, Burl?
We're doing good this evening. It's a bright, sunny day here in Indiana, and so we're doing really well. Glad to be back with everybody again this week. We've got some exciting stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, featuring our Mini Carver.
Yes, our DWC 1824 Mini Carver model, which is a 24 by 18 inch cutting area, 24 along the x-axis, 18 inches along the y, and if I'm not mistaken, a 4-inch Z height. The Mini Carver is our benchtop model, and it is a wonderful getting started unit. If you're just getting into CNC, or if you've been in CNC for some time and you're looking for a smaller unit that'll fit in your shop and things, the Mini Carver is the ideal unit for that. It takes up a very small footprint. The overall table size of the Mini Carver is 30 inches in length, 24 inches in width, and creates a very small footprint. It can be sit on a custom-made workbench or your shop bench and things, or we do have accessories such as benches and coasters, which we'll get into in just a moment. But the Mini Carver comes standard with the Vectric VCarve Desktop design software from Vectric, which is an outstanding beginning package and all. The Mini Carver currently right now rolls in at $2,579, and for a limited time, it is currently on sale for $75 off with a flat rate shipping of $150, which is $100 off shipping, and we're offering that out. We hope everybody here enjoys what we're going to talk about tonight with the Mini Carver, and hope to get some good questions from you all. We're going to be running the machine here in a little while later this, throughout this broadcast. And while we're running, that's going to be a perfect opportunity to answer some of the questions and things. We're going to, Burl, let's start off with me talking about the router. If you could zoom in and focus on the Makita router. The Mini Carver comes standard with a Makita 1.25 horsepower router. This is a soft start variable speed router with a 1/4-inch bit capacity, so you can use both 1/8 inch and 1/4-inch shank router bits. The unit comes with an accessory option of a vacuum system as an accessory, which is right down on the floor. Burl's going to pan down there and show it to us. It doesn't come standard with the unit, but it is an accessory. It's a $75 accessory if somebody wanted to add that on. Connects right to the Mini Carver's 1.25 inch dust hood that you can see there. Your hose slides right over that dust hood for excellent dust collection. And we're going to get a little bit of a demo of that dust collection while we're running today.
Yep.
Now,
Laney,
Burl,
that was, yep. One of the things I wanted to point out is this is a little bit different than our bigger, the 2440. The dust head does come standard with this. So that part of it is a standard option. It's just a shop vac that is the accessory. So it comes with the 2 skirts and the dust head itself.
absolutely, yeah. 2 dust skirts and 2 clamps for holding down material. As well as it comes with standard with a 60-degree V-bit, the Whiteside 1541 60-degree V-bit. Burl's going to pan us over to our accessory table that we have to the left of the unit. Where's that?
Before we get to that, Laney, I wanted to explain one thing.
Sure.
Why the Mini really started, and you touched on this a little bit earlier. You see, we got it set here on the just a regular bench top that I have here in my shop. And one of the 2 main reasons for the Mini Carver was, number one, cost. People just, getting into it, not sure if they want to, spend the extra money. So cost was a big thing. The other thing is the area. Now, some people just doesn't have a lot of shop room area that they can put the Mini Carver in. So they wanted a small footprint so that they could put that just on their bench. So this really only takes up about a 3 by 4 foot area of your workbench if you're going to put it on your workbench. So that was the 2 main areas or reasons for the Mini Carver was cost, but also the shop area. We just, people couldn't justify that, 6x5 or 4x5 area taking up a footprint. This could be set directly on their benchtop unit or benchtop that they already had existing in their shop. So I wanted to point that out. That was kind of the two main reasons that we designed and developed and sell the DWC 1824 was the size and also cost.
Absolutely. And one of the things that is really, in my opinion, makes digital woodcarvers stand out is that individuals that are just getting into CNC machining, or they are looking for something with that smaller footprint, if they happen to grow, their skills grow, their needs grow, and requirements grow and everything, they actually have the opportunity to trade their Mini Carver in towards the purchase of one of our 2440 models, 4x4s or 4x8 models. So it's a great stepping stone into the world of CNC, but not just a stepping stone, it's a great machine just to have for those smaller projects that you got to get knocked out and things in the shop. Now,
yeah, Laney, you are exactly right on that, because we've got some customers. I know of one particular here in my local area. He uses his a lot, and they have a store in a local area down here. It's kind of a tourist place where it's crafty places, and he has one for his store. I know another gentleman that is on our Facebook a lot, showing a lot of projects that, and he uses his all the time. So you're exactly right. We don't want to mistake people by the small package and the lower price, that it's one of those things that it's just kind of a gimmick or something that can't be useful when machine.
Oh, absolutely. No, I've seen a lot of great projects come out of the Mini Carver R1824. And the only difference between that and the 2440, I mean, other than the mechanics, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment, but is the size. But I've seen some amazing products come off of it. And with that Vectric VCarve Desktop software that's packaged in with it, in that low price of $25.79, currently on sale for $75 off. But with that, individuals have the opportunity also to grow their software needs too. They can always upgrade with their Vectric, as well. Now, Burl, before we get into the software or no, the accessories, now let's talk a little bit about the mechanics. The Mini Carver is lead screw driven on the X, Y, and Z axis. It is equipped on the X and the Y with anti-backlash nuts. And
that is correct.
Bro, for the layperson that's just now looking, at CNC and stuff, what is the anti-backlash nut? That is basically keeping it from backlashing too far off of course, or?
Well, what you have is, when you have lead screws, one of the kind of the disadvantages with them is that you can get wear between the threads and the the nut and the screw part of it. So what an anti-backlash nut does is, it's actually two individual nuts, and they put a little spring tension between them. Obviously, you don't want to put too much spring tension, or it will cause your nut to wear excessively. But you put a little bit in that there, so as it wears, you still have a little bit of tension, meaning it's preloaded, so that you shouldn't get those backlashes where it was just a simple nut. And of course, the Z, we don't need that, because obviously gravity works for us, and so gravity is our kind of our backlash, as you might say, when it comes to the Z part of it.
Outstanding. And those are 3/4 inch stainless steel rods on the y-axis that the y-axis travels on. And Burl, is the x-axis, is it 1 inch or 3/4 as well? I think it's 3/4.
Yeah, on the DWC 1824, all three rods are 3/4. One of the things I wanted to point out, while I've got it zoomed in here, is those are linear bearings, and those are literally ball bearing that roll on the rod. And the reason I want to point those out, that makes a very, very smooth motion. You don't get any resistance when they're sealed bearings on there. It keeps it wiper. And I noticed you popped up at Skip Peters, one of our gentlemen out on the East Coast. been with us a while. I love his program. He works with some handicapped children out there. Always love talking with him. But he has a Mini Carver too.
Absolutely. Now on the Mini Carver, very minimal maintenance, just a nice lightweight 3-in-1 oil to lubricate your stainless steel rods and lead screws. And you know, on a regular basis, I would say every couple of weeks, you want to lubricate that to keep it nice and running smooth.
That is correct.
And Burl, the tabletop is equipped with 3 integrated aluminum T-tracks on that Mini Carver. And those T-tracks are capable of handling 1/4-20 T-bolts, T-nuts, or T-bolts, sorry, and also 1/4-20 hex head bolts for customizing your clamping needs and requirements and things. We've got 2 custom clamps that come with it. And the clamps, if you'll notice, and there's a good reason why we use wooden clamps with our systems versus aluminum or metal, is because, you know, you never know what's going to happen. And that clamp could be in the way, and it's much easier on our router bits and stuff and on your bits and all for that router to run into that clamp as a wooden clamp and, you know, cut into it a little bit, rather than if it was, you know, an aluminum clamp or something like that, you know, a metal clamp. So we provide 2 clamps for your initial hold downs, and additional clamps could be purchased from Digital Wood Carver, or, you know, you could also DIY your own cool little hold downs to meet your needs and things.
Right.
Good. Bro.
And that brings up a point. I know you've done a lot of shows, your Spindle TV. You've done a lot of shows on jigs and different things like that. There's nothing wrong with going with those different style clamps. One of the reasons I chose it was it ticked me off after I cut into one of my nice aluminum clamps, and I'm thinking, why did I go with that aluminum when the wooden ones? Another thing is you notice we probably have a little bit of tension on that. It also acts as a spring or a little bit of a down pressure on that.
Correct.
Okay.
So if their board is slightly got a little bit of a twist or curve, it kind of will not hold, that spring tension will hold it down nice and flat.
Yeah.
All right, bro, let's move on over to the accessory table and let's show them the stand and everything. So as an accessory, we have a stand for the Mini Carver that an individual could purchase, and the stand is $135. And we also, if mobility is a requirement in your shop because you're sharing your shop space with a car or other tools and stuff, we have a mobile stand option, mobile base option for your stand. And the mobile base is a $99 accessory. And the mobile base is very nice. It rolls around very well. And then it's also got the stops on the end that you can secure down and kind of level things out. On top of
and one of the things, Laney, wanted to point out is just to make sure people understand the bottom section is the caster set, and then the top section is the stand. You don't need that, but if your shop is a little bit limited, it's nice. You have one end that has the stops on it, have a swivels, and the other ends are solid. So it's nice to, that's how I started in woodworking, is I had a small shop. I had to move my woodworking equipment in the evening so my wife could put her car in the garage and then move it in and out. So that does add that mobility, as you were saying earlier.
Absolutely. And the unit itself, when someone purchases the unit, it comes standard, as I said, with the Vectric VCarve Desktop design software. It comes standard with the PlanetCNC TNG Motion Controller software for moving around. You get the added USB cable for connection to your laptop or desktop PC. Your wrench for changing bits. And the unique thing, the Makita router has a locking stop button that you would push in to lock the head while you're changing router bits. It'll come standard with a white side 1541 60-degree 0.25-inch V-bit. And then, of course, the all-important Getting Started Guide. The Getting Started Guide is a 1-2-3 punch to get you started in connection and up and running with your machine. The key thing about the Mini Carver is this is not a kit, ladies and gentlemen. It's fully assembled. It's plug and play ready. You will uncrate the machine, get it set up on your workbench, connect the USB cable, load your software onto your computer, and you are off and running. I think the setup time, proficiently with the loading in the software, probably within an hour, you could be up and running very easily.
I'm glad you brought that up because we do get that question a lot. As you see this unit, all the electronics and stuff like that are connected to the base or the underneath side. So if you don't see like our 2440, a control box, it is all there. And I'll pan around to the back so you can kind of see where we interface back here with our, obviously the electronics, our power, and then our relays here. We have our on and off switch that you see the lit up there. And then our first two, what we do is we separate the controls and the router and the vacuum. The Mini Carver does have the same feature as our 2440, meaning that we control the router and the vacuum. That's what these plugins are here. These two receptacles are ran off of relay. So when you start that software, that router and vacuum will come on. And then if you're not standing right there with it, the software will automatically shut that off at the end of the program, so that you're not, if you'd happen to step out and get distracted, it's not going to sit there and run for hours.
Absolutely, and that's a great feature that everything is integrated right into the unit. So that automatic start and stop is great. So that makes it to where you don't necessarily have to babysit the machine. It does come standard with a Z touch tool, which is Burl is kind of focusing on right now. And the Z touch tool, the gator clip that you see to the left, clips on the router bit. And then the touch plate, you will secure that under the bit nice and flat on the top of your material or your waste board, depending on what your Z0 position is set up in your Vectric software. And that is for easy Z0ing of the machine. The Burl, what they can see looking down at the cords like that, there's a small little port on the back of that unit for an additional connection.
Oh, yeah.
And that little port, ladies and gentlemen, that 4-pin port allows for connection for a fourth axis unit, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct with that, Burl?
You are correct. And if you'll give me a second, we can talk about that accessory since you brought it up. This would be a plug and play. All the machines are wired for that fourth axis on the Mini. And I'll step over and show you. We are missing one plate, I'll tell you that on the Mini, but you can get an overall perspective of what the Mini or the fourth axis looks like for the 24 or 18 by 24. This does set on top of your tabletop. So unlike the 2440 where the head tilts 90 degrees, this will simply, your head will go over top of it. Just like most things on the 18 by 24, this is has a smaller package that you can carve. 3-inch diameter, 18 inches long is the limitation or the size capacity for the fourth axis.
Absolutely. And that, if I'm not mistaken, that looks like a 3-jaw chuck on the head of that motor, which
is
outstanding.
It is.
Yeah,
it comes with its own chuck there. You can take those jaws and take them outside or inside. If you want to do a spur drive, certainly you could take a spur drive and clamp it literally into the jaw of that chuck and have a spur drive.
Absolutely. Now, panning back to our table, Burl, we also have some other additional accessories. To the far left, that small little diamond bit there, we have a spring-loaded diamond bit and diamond and engraving bit, or diamond engraving bit. It's not it's a diamond engraving bit. And this is excellent for etching in light metals, glass, your tile, quarry, and stone and granite. And it has a 1/4-inch shank capacity on it made for the Mini Carver. And that's a cool little accessory if you're into that. I like making little name plates and stuff every once in a while, and the diamond bit is a perfect tool for that. Now, up to the far top of the screen, which we've kind of frozen up just a slight amount, we'll let Burl get focused back. But at the very top of your screen, you will see the DWC quickset tool. And the touch pin that accompanies with it is laying to the right on the table. And while Burl works on his camera, we're going to pop back to me for a moment. And I want to welcome, we have, some of our customers here, Skip Peters, Ronnie Probert, Rick Roy. Thank you very much for joining us. And Henry, welcome. Thank you. Can't wait to get your 2440. He just ordered his. Good to see you, Henry. And we have a question from Larry. How big is the workspace? Larry, the table itself is 24 by 30 inches, and the cutting area is 18 inches by 24. 18 inches by 24 on that unit. And welcome back, Burl.
Sorry about that. That's the advantage of a live show and internet speeds and stuff like that. But
Not a
yeah, it
problem.
wasn't too bad.
We went
Yeah,
through and
took
answered
over.
questions and things. We got Bill Zala here and all. And
Bill,
Bill, right now, Bill's asking a question of if we are going to show how to use the diamond bit. Bill, I will be demonstrating that in one of our Spindle TV in the shop with Laney videos coming up. We won't be demonstrating it here tonight. But that,
or maybe in a later, when we do some accessories, we might be able to, but we just aren't set up for it tonight. Didn't think about it, so apologize.
really, no problem. So I hope, Larry, I hope that answered your question as far as the workspace. 18-inch by 24-inch cutting area with a 24 by 30 table. And what you're looking at on the screen, go ahead, bro. I'll let you take over this on the TNG software.
Oh, that's okay. Actually, I was going to see if you wanted to pop up real quick. We did this last week, and I think everybody enjoyed it, kind of showing the total process of what we do. If you want to pop up, I think you had it up earlier, the artwork that we did this with a VCarve, and then you do just a quick little overview of what it takes to create this toolpath that you see there on the TNG there.
Absolutely. So what you'll see here is I'm in the Vectric VCarve Desktop software, and I've imported an actual vector image. Now, this could have been a JPEG, a PNG, a bitmap, a GIF, a TIFF, but it happened to be an SVG file that we have of the logo. We imported it very easily into the project, and then it's a matter of taking the object, sizing it up to what we want, and I've got it sized up here to kind of fit this area. Now, it's not going to take up the whole board that Burl's going to be carving. It's just small area on the board that he's got clamped on the table, but we've got it sized for that. And then very simply, once the image or the design is laid out, then we can come over to the CAM side of the software and start to toolpath this. And in this case, this is a VCarve toolpath. I've got the cut depth limited right now to a 0.4 inches deep. We are using a 60-degree V-bit, the white side 1541 that comes with the unit. And when that toolpath is calculated, one of the great things about the software is the preview window. Before Burl starts carving on the table, we can actually preview the cut within the Vectric software to get an idea or general idea of what our project should look like. And this is the point that if we see any mistakes or we see something that needs to be changed, we can quickly and easily do it within the software before we go carving on our material. Now, once that toolpath is created, I simply saved the file, and that file was now going to be opened up in the PlanetCNC software on Burl's computer, which you see there. And
what I was going to do, Laney, here is just kind of getting prepared. You created the program, and you've seen it there as a toolpath. I simply just imported the toolpath that he created, and I was going to show him here on the board what we're going to use as a reference point. I just created a dot that's not centered or anything on this, but thought we'd just kind of go perpendicular to what we ran last week on that. So first thing we're going to do, and one of the things the 1824 doesn't have is it doesn't have a built-in pendant like the 2440. But what we can use is our keypad, and we got that program. So what we can use is our keypad, just moving it back and forth with the numbers. We can actually slow the jog speed down or up with our keypad too. So we're just simply going to line that up. I'm going to run it down just a little bit so I can get a better idea of that I'm lined up. Okay, that's got the X. Now we're going to do the Y. Now I'm going to come back over here and zero the X and Y out because they're manually put in the location that they need to be. And then I'm just going to come over here onto my screen. I just click the X, that zeroed that out. And then on the Y, that zeroed that out. Now on the Z, that's where we're going to use our touch plate. I told Lainey I was going to put the skirt on because I have to do it one-handed, so you guys get to watch that a little bit later because I want to show you how this works. So we'll put our alligator clip. On our router bits. Then we're going to put our touch plate right down against there. Now I can't hold, well, tell you what, let's see if we can do this way.
For those of you that don't know, Burl is operating on a gimbal right now and working the camera with one hand while he is doing everything else with the other. Absolutely.
Well, you can actually do it. I didn't think I could do it, but hey, I was able to do it. So I put that down on that touch plate, and now that touch plate is 10 thousandths thick. So I'm going to actually change my dimension here. I can click on that, and I can make that any dimension that I want. So I put it 10,000. Now that set that Z.
And the great thing about the PlanetCNC TNG software is that it has an I/O tab built into the software, so you can actually see the sensors when they're activated, like the touch plate. You can see when your router comes on and the outputs and the inputs and things, the jogging terminal. So this is a very user-friendly but intuitive software for controlling your CNC, and we love it. We've been using it for quite a few years now.
Yep. So at this point, we've got it zeroed out. What I'm doing, behind the scenes, is I am making sure that my touch plate and the alligator clip are not touching, because obviously once that thing starts running, I don't want those to touch by accident. Now we'll see if I can get the trick of one-handed skirt placement.
And it is very easy to install the dust skirt onto the unit, but again, Burl is balancing a camera and one hand, but I have total faith in him that he can do it. And ladies and gentlemen, when we start running, we're going to be watching the unit run and things, and this is going to be the perfect time to answer any questions that you have. So if you have any questions, type them into the chat. We'd be very happy to answer them.
Okay, so we should be ready. I'm going to do a couple of little tests here. One of the things that I like telling people, especially when you start out, I love the TNG. Gives us a huge human interface so we can see what's going on, our toolpath there. But Lainey, one of the things I like doing, and I encourage all my customers when they first pick up, as you see me moving the screen, I'm going to speed it up so it's not quite that slow. But I see that yellow dot moving. The head is also moving simultaneously with that. So what I can do is, you notice the yellow dot is outside of my toolpath there. I can look over onto my project and see where that is landing. So I can do a quick little reference here. It takes literally a few seconds to run over top of my project. What I can do is make sure my orientation is correct. Also that I'm going to stay on my piece of wood, that it's located on the project where I want, but I can also see if I'm going to hit one of those clamps. So sometimes your clamps can get in the way, whether it's a post in the background hitting the back part of the router. But that quick little running over top of those, that toolpath area, I can see where it's going to go when I carve.
Absolutely.
The other thing I'm on.
The one other thing is one of the questions I get a lot is, do I have to bring it back home before I start it? And the answer to that is no. That's the first thing that the program is going to do. It's going to come back home when you hit start, but Burl can also bring that router back home to that start point by clicking the XY to 0 button over on the far left of the screen, which is the second one down.
Yep.
And when he clicks that, that's going to bring that router back to that start point. Not a necessary requirement because the software is going to do that as soon as he hits start anyway, but it's really nice to be able to bring that machine back home, after you do that little runaround test.
Yes, once you've zeroed that project or zeroed it in that center location, we're based our project off of the center in this case. I can move it anywhere. It knows where it is. Anytime I move it, whether it's with the keyboard or the screen or anything. Mainly another test I like doing here before I hit start is I will click the spindle button here. We can literally toggle this on and then turn it back off just from the screen there. And what that does is if for some reason I had turned the router off, maybe I was changing the bit and I just wanted to be double safe that that thing didn't come on while I had my hands down there. I don't want to start the program without that router running. Obviously, it would, dig into my wood and wouldn't cut. So at this point, Laney, is there anything you want to point out? I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to kind of pan over it while it's cutting. With the noise of the router and the vacuum, you probably won't be able to hear me. So if you want to mute me and ask a few questions while we do this, I'll still pan the camera so that you guys can see it do a little bit of its thing and the shop vac pulling up the dust there.
That sounds good, bro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now is the perfect time to ask any questions that you'll have as we watch the DWC1824 Mini Carver carve out that logo file. Let's see here. Let's go with Ed. With a USB numerical number pad, what is the setting in TNG so I don't have to hold down control? Well, in the software, the TNG controller software, Ed, you will go to the file menu down to settings and you'll go into shortcuts. And in the keyboard shortcuts section of the settings, you can go down there and program your buttons for what you want. And currently, as a default, they're set to hold the control button down plus a number or, the key. And you can change that to just be the number without the control button. You can change that. So that's an excellent question. And ladies and gentlemen, now is the time. If you have any questions, would be a great time to ask. But the Mini Carver is a great starting unit. It really is. It is 18 by 24. But as I said earlier, if an individual, their needs grow, their requirements grow, and they need to move up in the world, we do have our mid-size unit, our 2440 mid-size unit. And then from there, we have a 4x4 and a 4x8 unit. And we're always, willing and able to take a Mini Carver in as a trade-in, and towards the purchase of a big one. And they hold their value very well. Burl has a great policy intact that he will ask the customers to send him a photo of the unit. Or photos, and he'll analyze those, and then he'll give them a very, very fair trade-in price on the unit and things. And a good question here. So why is the fourth axis on top of the Mini instead of on the side? Well, because the Mini Carver is designed as a benchtop unit, and therefore it can be used without the stand. And the fourth axis, like on the 2440, requires the stand, so it's mounted off to the side. In this case, we have the fourth axis for the Mini, so it could have that capability of being a fourth axis. We have it clamped to the top of the table, so we're carving down on the top of the spindle versus pivoting the router and everything. So that way it can still maintain its small footprint on a benchtop in someone's shop and everything. So that's a great question, William. When zeroing out the Z, do you always have to set it to 0.10? Well, let's correct that. It's 0.01, 10,000ths of an inch. And Bill, when you're manually setting the Z axis within the software and you bring that bit down manually to the touch plate, yes, you will change your Z. Once it's making contact with that touch plate, you will change it to that Z to 0.01. Hit enter to lock that in. But within the PlanetCNC TNG software, there's also an auto touch off option to where you can click a button and it will automatically touch off the Z. And the 10,000ths of an inch is programmed into the settings in the back end. So you can use that as well. Excellent question. All right. Love these questions, guys. Great questions. Now, the Mini Carver comes standard with 2 dust skirts, and also when we come back to burl after this carving and all, there are also some dust brush options for it as well. The unit is very, what I want you to notice, it's right now carving, and we do have the vacuum system on, and you can see the dust collection is very adequate with that. There's a few little specks of dust on the table, which you're bound to get on those larger chips, right up to the screen right and everything. But it is the dust collection has done a very good job with that. And oops, I switched off of the screen, and I meant to bring this full screen like that. There we go. So very little dust after that, and we've got our digital wood carver logo there. Nice little small little logo that we carved in the corner of that board. We're going to maximize that board as much as we can. We're going to try to get that into a few podcasts to show the differences. So we got some room to carve some other things in upcoming episodes, and definitely be sure to join us for that. All right, so the units stop now. So I'm going to bring Burl's mic back up. Burl, that looks great. It seems like everything well.
Yeah, and that, like you said, the dust, I mean, it doesn't catch everything, but it does a good job. Even on that last week, we showed a little more of the router bit cutting. This week, we definitely wanted to focus on how much that would pick up, and depend upon the wood and stuff on that. But taking that right in, like you say, on the accessories, we do have some different options. The skirt, those come with it. Certainly over a period of time, they're very inexpensive. They will get, torn up or cut and snagged once in a while on that. So those would have to be replaced after a period of time. One of the things I like about them, they are, clear. You can see what's going on, but they have some little bit of downside. So we do have some options. I want to grab one of these and take it over and remove the skirt. I'm going to take the smallest one just so that you can kind of see it. But these are brushes. We have different lengths for them so that, if you got a shorter bit or a taller bit, you can utilize whichever length that you want on there. So,
and the dust brushes, while Burl is getting that skirt off, the dust brushes come in a 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and a 2-inch length. And each of the skirts are an accessory of $39.99 for those dust brushes. All right.
Well, let's get this skirt on here. We have 3 locations that the magnets will match up to and it literally just snaps into place that easy.
I love that.
It snaps in there, and then you pull it down, and you can remove it. When you not using it, it just snaps right in place there, and stays in place. This is a short one. This little 1541 is a short bit, so you would have to utilize those. The downside of them is it does a better job of keeping that dust, but obviously you can't see what's going on quite as well as the skirts, but it is a good option. We try to give everybody the different options.
And Burl, that leads us into a question, and William Wallace, I'll get to your question in a moment, but Ronnie Proper said, Laney, is the dust brush better than the plastic shield? And as Burl, he just said, the brush has its advantages of being, a little bit better of a sweeping action because of those bristles and all. So it can sweep that dust into that vacuum housing up into our shop vac and stuff. It's not really a disadvantage, but the downside is it is a bristle brush. so you can't see the bit, and that's why we give you the option of it comes standard with the dust skirts, which are clear, and then if somebody requires a little bit more sweeping action and dust collection, they can absolutely purchase one of the dust brushes. And I use a combination of both. It really depends on the project at hand. I'll give you an example. My MDF, when I'm carving on MDF, which produces a lot of dust, I'll use my dust brushes. And when I'm carving in more dense woods, like oaks and things, I'll use my dust skirt. It really just comes down to the requirement that you need. And so thank you, Ronnie, for that. William asked the question, can you tile on the Mini? And for those of you that are new to CNC, tiling is meaning that you're able to carve larger projects than the cutting area. And even though that Mini has a very nice 18x24 cutting area, we have the absolute ability to tile, which means we could run a longer project. If I wanted to run a 36-inch or longer sign, I could do that. You just tile the design in the Vectric software. So great question, both of you guys. And we talked about this right before Burl had a little bit of technical difficulties, that DWC quickset zeroing tool accessory. This is for rapid and repeatable XYZ touch off onto your material. So the quickset block sits right onto the corner of the material. The Gator clip will click to the existing touch plate of the Mini Carver. The Gator clip will clip onto the router bit, and you can use that touch block to zero out X, Y, and Z for working off of the corner of your material versus the center. Now, the digital wood carver decal that Burl just carved was working off the center of the design. So he zeroed out with just the X and Y with the computer, and then he touched off the Z manually with the touch plate off the center of that project. But if this project was being set up to work off the corner, then we could utilize the DWC quickset zeroing block.
Sorry, my cable got caught up back there, so
no
I had
problem.
to move that back around, and yeah, we'll get it set up here so we can show and do a demonstration of this, Laney.
Yeah. And while you're getting set up, bro, I'm going to answer a couple more questions. Do you need VCarve Pro to do that? And Ed is referring to the tiling question that was asked earlier. No, VCarve Pro is not required. Vectric VCarve Desktop software has the ability to create a 24-inch by 24-inch project. And therefore, any longer project than 24 inches by 24 inches would require tiling anyway. And the Vectric VCarve Desktop software absolutely has that tiling feature. Now, as I'm talking and everything here, Burl is setting up the bit. So the DWC quickset tool starts off in an X positive movement. Then it will touch off on the X side of that bit. It'll come around for the Y, and then it will raise up and touch off the Z. So I'm going to let Burl get set up a little bit longer, and he'll give me a thumbs up in the camera when he's ready to go because I've got him muted. All right, so here we go. All right, Burl.
Yeah, I think we're ready to go. I've got my bit down in front of my X, about quarter inch ahead of it. We're only about, well, let me move my Y down a little bit here, Laney. And then we're ready to go
All right.
on hitting our, let me go pan over and show you what I'm going to click on, and then we'll get back onto that. Laney has done an excellent job on her software developing some automatic where you basically just push the button and it will do these sequencing. So you can see my buttons down here. We're going to be clicking on that quarter inch button there. It will come up, give us a warning here. And before I click on the next, we'll pan over so you guys can see the sequencing there.
Excellent.
Of course, I got
and the quickset zeroing tools, that quarter inch tool that Burl clicked those buttons, those are integrated into the TNG software, which is phenomenal. And thank you for those kudos, Burl. So the quickset just touched off on the x-axis. Now it's moving over to the center of the block on the y to touch off on the y. Once it makes contact and registers the y-axis, it's going to then raise up to a safe height and move over the z. And then it's automatically going to come down and touch off on the z-axis. Once it touches off the Z, then it's going to move to a safe position out of the way. That will allow Burl to remove the quickset block and everything from his unit, and then he can bring that machine back home. And
yeah, I'm clicking the move to 0.
And that will set our X, Y, and Z right on the top of the board at the corner of that board. And before he would to hit start on this job, be sure to unclip the gator clip from the router bit and put your tools away. Put your touch block away, put your touch plate away, and everything. So, excellent accessory. It's great for repeatable and accurate setting of X, Y, and Z working off the corner of your material. Now, of course, when you're doing things like live edge wood that doesn't have a defined corner, then you're going to use just the touch tool, the built-in touch zeroing tool, and you're going to work off the center. But that is the DWC Quickset, ladies and gentlemen, and that is a $49.99 accessory at digitalwoodcarver.com.
Yeah, Laney, wrapping up here on our show tonight. What I'd like to do is, you talked about most of the things were included. You do get a router bit. Obviously, you don't have to have a full arsenal of bits, but you do have, for different operations, different bits. And this is, we want to highlight one of our starter sets. Comes with a couple extra V bits for doing those V carvings. And we'll run through a fairly brief little sample of some different signs that we got out. We always like to do that at the end of our show here. It comes with a 1/4-inch end mill or a straight cutter for doing those pocketing and cutouts. And then there's a couple of those tapered ball-nosed bits. Those are for doing your 3D. I love those little bits. That little one there with that 16th inch diameter. It's tapered, so that bit is still strong, but yet you get some very, very detailed artwork with that. So that's a 705 bit set that we offer as one of our accessories. Very popular, obviously, for the 18x24 option on that.
And Burl, let's stay right where you are, panned on that quickset tool, and answer a question here. William Wallace, how will that work on a form tool? William, when you're using a form tool or a tool that has a taper, like a tapered ball nose and stuff, you will use the touch pin that's right there, Burl's pan down on it. You will use that in your router to do your X and Y touch off for the quickset tool, and then you will do a tool change, and then after the tool change, it will come back and touch off the Z with your form tool. So that was a great question on that. But that 705 bit set, ladies and gentlemen, Whiteside 705 bit set is available at digitalwoodcarver.com. It's $150 for that starter bit set. And again, to recap what Burl said, it's got a 60-degree and a 90-degree V bit, a 1/4-inch upcut spiral bit, 1/8 inch tapered ball nose, and a 16th inch tapered ball nose. It is a great starter bit set that'll do 90% of the projects that you want to do. And Burl's going to pan over and show some of these projects and things. The first project on the corner of the table is a guitar cribbage board. Now this guitar cribbage board uses a lot of different options. We've got some drilling operations with the holes. We've got a pocket cuts where that little sound hole is supposed to be, and the bridge and everything. We've got a profile cutting out with a V-carve of those lines and letters and things on that guitar, and even the Digital Woodcarver logo on the head there. But very cool project using a lot of different operations, toolpath operations that's available within the software.
Hey, Laney, could you imagine taking a drill press and drilling all those holes and being consistent around on that?
Taking a drill press, drilling all those holes, and being in alignment as they are. That is one thing that a CNC is great at, doing those repeatable projects and things very accurately. And the Mini Carver is no exception to that rule. It is a very accurate tool with a 5,000 plus or minus, repeatability on that unit. Up to the very top corner of the screen, we have a simple V carving in MDF. There, I'm a black Jeep of the family, which is a play on words there. Very funny. We've got a little pin box, and we've got a bolt with some threads on it. That would be a 4th axis project, but we also have the nut with internal
Yep.
threads, and that would actually be carved on the table. So it's a very cool little combination of using a 4th axis accessory with a table cut as well.
Lenny, I found this project sitting over on my shelf. I thought I'd point it out tonight. This is something I'd done with my daughter. She loves animals. I bought this pattern that we found online. Another website had it. It was a very inexpensive pattern. You probably know what the costs are, but in one evening we cut that out. We sat down and her and I glued it up, and it's a little 3D type puzzle.
Now, I've been with Burl for 5 years. So it's been 5 years since I've joined Digital Woodcarver, and that lion has followed us around from show to show as one of our displays and stuff, and it's still holding up very strong.
It lost its tail. It lost its tail, but besides that, it's doing well.
Now, that pattern, for those of you that are into CNC, that pattern is from makecnc.com. They have a wonderful selection of 3D puzzle patterns and stuff. Down in the bottom of the screen, in front of the cribbage board guitar, we have a VCarve inlay. This inlay project of maple and walnut, and this is right off the CNC, perfect fit, very tight tolerances within the carving and everything. I mean, just absolutely stunning. To the right, Rose George. We showed this last week. I love this project. This is our butterfly walnut sign, butterfly. So whisper I love you to a butterfly, and it will deliver that message to heaven, I think is what it says. But it's a phenomenal thing. And yep. And to the right is a 3D model cut of a soldier saluting a flag. And one of our new prides and joys is up at the top of the walnut sign, which is our guitar. That guitar is just a kind of a mock-up of a guitar body, but it is inlaid, or not inlaid, it is filled with resin, blue and red resin, fill in those pockets and stuff to really make it stand out.
Yep.
And Burl, one of the questions that we have is the question that I'm going to answer really quickly is, are you going to do a 3D demo in the future? And yes, Bill, again, one of those demos we're going to be doing in the shop projects with Laney, where we will be able to do all of these nice one-on-one demos. A 3D project demo would be a little bit too long of a project to do in one of our live streams here, but it's going to be one of those ongoing things that we will see in the upcoming future episodes of In the Shop with Laney, where we actually do some carving on the digital wood carvers and have some fun with that.
Yeah, and we could do one. We would just simply have to, show the different stages that it was in. You would do the, showing how to do it on the software, and then have one in the midst of carving, and then have a finished product. So we certainly could. Good question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Burl, I want to thank you once again for taking the time to walk us through the Mini Carver. It's always a great opportunity for everybody that's joined us and people that are going to be viewing in the future to see the units, see them in action, and kind of get just some of that information that they might not be able to find just by doing web searches and stuff. So this is a great opportunity. And with us not being able to go to shows and them come to the shows and visit us at our Digital Woodcarver booth, we're attempting to bring the shows to ladies and gentlemen and answer some of the questions and go over some of the things. So thank you for that. Are there any last comments or things that you would like to say to everybody, Burl?
Well, Laney, this is our second one. I hope this week was a little better. Got some of the technical things that we didn't, hopefully mess up from the first one. But it's been a pleasure. I enjoy it. It's a time where you and I can kind of showcase our products, and it's been good. Everything's going well. I just, glad everybody could join us, and certainly want everybody to stay safe out there.
Excellent. And I'm going to answer one final question on my goodbye from Jeff. Jeff asked, what is the cutting area of our 4x4 machine? And the answer to that is 48 inches by 48 inches. It has a carving area of 51 by 49, if I'm not mistaken, but it has a cutting area of 48 by 48. So with that being said and that question answered, once again, Burl, thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm waving to my window like someone is standing in front of me. But until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye now.
Yeah.